let me just say that Rax King from the Tattoo Guys episode sent me an article that her friend Willie Blackmore wrote. And this is in Audubon magazine, which is a bird magazine. Audubon birds. I don't know if you know that, Chris.
I
They
don't.
they do bird. The Audubon Society does bird stuff. They're the bird people.
Isn't the
Um,
Autobahn that like really fat the highway where you can drive as fast as you want?
yes, Chris, but there is also the American Audubon Society, which is a bird society.
Okay, but I'm not wrong, right?
You're not wrong. On May 11th, 2018, Andrew Farnsworth saw something that was almost unbelievable. A migration ecologist at the Cornell Lab of Ornithology, Farnsworth has seen more than his fair share of rare birds. But there was one species native to the lower 48 that he'd never recorded, a Kirtland's warbler. And he assumed doing so would require a trip to its breeding grounds in Michigan's Jack Pine Forest. The rare warbler is all but unheard of in New York State. That a Kirtland's came practically to his front door when it stopped over in Central Park, not far from Farnsworth Manhattan apartment, was nothing short of extraordinary. I think it was reported about 5 p.m., he says. I took a cab to 60th and 5th and bailed out and then ran fast. After spotting the bird, Farnsworth realized the warbler was only part of the spectacle. Seeing the speed with which tens and then hundreds of people appeared in the park to see the bird was like a BTS concert or a Beatles concert, he says. A birder named Kevin Topping first spotted the Kirtlands and posted about it on Twitter. It's a funny place to post it, you know. I wish it wasn't X anymore, but you know, Twitter.
Yeah, I mean that's I wonder if birding was big on Twitter.
It was
Okay.
because this is a story about celebrity birds becoming a problem.
I
Um,
see. I see.
He said, where it was immediately picked up by Manhattan Bird Alert, a feed that reposts sightings of birds in the park, particularly uncommon species. The news got out through more traditional means, but none are geared toward speed quite like Manhattan Bird Alert. By 6:30 p.m., hundreds of people were watching the bird. The crowd was so large and had formed so quickly that the cops came. To Farnsworth, who's birded in Central Park for decades, it was clear that something had shifted. That was a moment of like, wow, this is a whole different level. The whole social media angle to alerting people has arrived in a very different, sort of explosive way. Social media has become a powerful, now they explain social media for some, but Willie, we know what that is. But while a feverish crowd can form anywhere, a rare bird appears. Manhattan's most famous green space is a crucible of the phenomena. Central Park is really one of the best birding spots outside of the tropics, says Todd Winston, a birding guide and urban biodiversity specialist in New York City Audubon. The metropolis is in the middle of the Atlantic Flyway, so millions of migrating birds pass through amid a landscape dominated by concrete. They concentrate in its green oases. At more than 800 acres, Central Park is one of the largest havens available for migrants, as well as residents like northern cardinals that inspire the city's human inhabitants. So
I've been to Central Park before. I walked around in there. I definitely saw some birds. It seemed like a pretty nice park to me. I mean, I'll be honest, I've seen better parks. But Joe, you live in New York. Or
yeah.
you're there quite often, or do you ever get out to Central Park and walk around?
No, I'm by Prospect Park in Brooklyn, and it's I think I don't want to give bad facts, but they got some of like the last remaining trees from before they knocked all the rest of deforested the rest of Brooklyn, and
That's cool.
it's a really nice feeling park and a deep. I guess like as serious woods as you can get in a city, and so there's good birds. And sometimes I will see a bunch of people gathered around a bird, and I try to lower my conversation because I don't want them getting,
Imagine, can you
yeah,
imagine you walk by, and I know you're notoriously loud, obviously, and so
yeah,
I can just imagine, but imagine you walk by and you
yeah,
just like everybody's there looking at this bird that hasn't been there in like 2 years, and you're just like, yeah, no, I'll be there later, man, and then it just fucking flies off, and everyone turns to you like, what the fuck?
well,
yeah.
in recent years, Manhattan Bird Alert, with roughly 80,000 followers and counting,
Whoa,
has brought new attention to the delights of birding in the park and helped attract new people to the hobby. It has also elevated a number of individual birds to celebrity status. And like any star, they're pursued by admirers whose behavior verges on that of a paparazzi. David Barrett, the man behind Manhattan Bird Alert, sees nothing wrong with propelling a bird to fame. My site gets people to like birds, he says. They've got a bird in their life now, and they think more about, well, what is this bird's life like, and what could affect it, and if so, and so they care more. Yet many of the birders, here's where we get to the issue here. Yet many of the birders, ornithologists, and members of avian conservation organizations I spoke with paint Barrett as a person who has brought widespread attention to birds in often unethical ways, such as sharing the real-time locations of sensitive species. Barrett's profile has risen in the media along with that of the birds he's helped make famous, and he's often quoted in news stories as an expert, much to the frustration of other avid amateurs who would prefer that effective science communicators weigh in. After getting someone interested in birding, you want that entry to move those people toward being conservationists and supporting the birds, says Dr. Bruce Yolton. But with David, it's empty. It's like eating candy or popcorn. So the actual scientists are very angry at David
So
because he's
can I know about some of the famous birds though?